Looks like we're good to go. So I want to welcome everybody. It's actually been over a month since we last had a broadcast, which was broadcast number 16. And we finished last month with a flurry of activity, actually. We had with the Compass Games catalog that came out. We had 9 new pre-orders that were announced, and that was done in late October. And then I had a follow-up broadcast where we were just getting ready and prepping for Compass Games Expo. So again, it's been quite a while, and it's a pleasure to have you here now. Just as a reminder for those that are joining us via our live feed stream, you'll have choices where you can ask questions. There's a Q&A box you can click on to ask any questions, and I'll get alerted if there's any questions coming in. Or there's also a chat option, also available on the Zoom platform. Those are for those that registered for tonight's session. Obviously, for those on Facebook Live, I've already seen Eric and Jonathan join. Jason Lindsay's joined as well. There's about a 20-second delay on the Facebook live stream, so I'll try to get to those questions as I see them. For those that are on Facebook, if you have any trouble with the video quality, if you look on Facebook, you'll see my other posts of where you can register for the session and then get on our platform, where we'll have better broadcast quality if that's something you'd like to have. So let's get right to it. So again, thank you for joining. It's been a while. Last episode was actually on October the 12th, and it's been now over a month. It's November 15th now. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to share my screen for a moment, and I want to focus in on, I want to talk about Compass Games Expo that we just completed. So I just got back from Connecticut, got back on Monday. And we had a great 3.5-day event. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So let me go ahead and get that ready now. So bear with me while I while I do that. And we should be now in screen sharing mode. And what I want to do is I just want to walk you through the event itself for those that couldn't make it, just to let you know how it went. And I have some pictures here to share. So again, it was November 9th through the 12th, Veterans Day weekend. It was our first annual event. And that's one of the first things that Bill Thomas asked me to do at Compass in terms of joining Compass, was besides projects and marketing, was to also leverage my experience doing Consum World Expo for over 18 years, and to put together a Compass Games branded event, really sort of following the similar format as Consum World Expo. Of course, it's tricky starting over in a whole new region, East Coast, a whole new, entirely new hotel, new venue. So a little nerve-wracking at times, not knowing how many people would actually support us for our very first year with all the events going on. But I'm very pleased to announce we had over 120 attendees for our first year. It was really a phenomenal turnout. This is a pic I'm showing here of the registration table, which also had Compass Games products on sale, which I'll talk about in a moment. So that was just our standard setup. We had one main gaming room. It wasn't the main ballroom of the hotel. Again, it was our first year, was really sort of to see how things went. We had about 3,500 square feet of a game space. We also had upstairs in another level of the hotel, we had a overflow gaming room of another 1,500 square feet. And I think there was just one game that ended up being played there. And that was all. Empires and Alliances, the World War I game from Rob Bama that we released a few months back. That was actually being played up on that overflow room. But everything else, as you see from this picture, this is just showing about 1/3 of the quadrant of the room. And this was actually, I think, on the first full day on Saturday. I'm sorry, first full day being Friday, when we had people showing up. So just to give you an idea of the room, and again, you can tell from the ceiling, it's not a ballroom style room, just a standard room, but it was pretty good size. And we were able to fit, all 120 people that came in and out. We were able to basically accommodate everybody in that one room. We had various games being played. So we have here in the middle, in the blue cap, is Adam Starkweather. So we had several designers with Compass that were in attendance. So Adam here is actually walking people through Korea on Friday. And that was on Friday the 9th of November. And then in the very front of the table, looking down below Korea is the map for Tinian, and Tinian is the next release coming on November 30th from Compass Games, which is also part of the company scale system. So you can see a little bit of Tinian there. I'm just going to walk you through some of the other images. So here, another designer that we're very excited to be working with. Actually, it's Bruce Maxwell. He's pictured here on the right. Bruce was designer not only for NATO, Victory in NATO, which we're redoing, but also Air and Armor. And here he's actually playing Air and Armor, which was also published. This was published by West End Games back in the 80s. And here he's doing some playthroughs. We're actually going to be working with Bruce Maxwell, pictured here on the right. He's going to be doing some new Air and Armor titles for us in the future. But first, we're doing the NATO game, which I've mentioned in previous episodes. So there's a picture of Bruce on the right side, and it was very exciting to welcome him back really to the hobby. He hasn't been active in the hobby for quite a few years, and we're excited to have him working on his NATO game. So we're very pleased to welcome Bruce Maxwell to the event. We received a lot of attention actually for one of our play tests, which was our Monster American Civil War game, which is in development, and that's with Don Johnson. So Donald Johnson's pictured here in the middle, sort of reaching for his glasses like this. And there is another industry luminary just to his right. That is Roger Nord. Roger Nord's done some really great games, classic games like Bellawood, World War I. He's also a co-designer for the Great War Commander from Hexasim, which is like the combat commander system. And he's done a lot of designs for Against the Odds magazine. So we were also pleased not only to welcome Donald Johnson, who was playtesting, as you can see, the 4-map Civil War game, which is about the same size if you're familiar with SPI's War Between the States. And actually, Don's just joined us here on the Facebook live feed. So welcome. Good to have you here, Donald. Just showing a picture of you here with Roger Nord, your partner in crime during the Great Rebellion playtest that you're doing. So again, we had a lot of attention on this game. It's early playtesting right now. We've just really begun playtesting of Donald's game, The Great Rebellion, and we'll have a lot of updates coming up for sure in the future. So we're very excited to have Donald Johnson and Roger Nord in attendance. It was actually the first time I was able to meet Roger Nord. Here we have a picture in the middle. I know him quite well, Barry Setzer out of Maryland. He comes to Consum World Expo almost every time. He usually wins our first sign-up, first person to sign up as well. So he usually gets a prize, a door prize for being the first one to sign up for Consum World Expo. So he actually surprised me. He drove down from Maryland to be at our first Compass Game Expo. And here he's playing Europe in Turmoil with several of our participants at the event. So it was very nice to have Barry there, and then pictured in the middle in the orange, and that's Adam Starkweather behind him with the blue cap going through Korea with several players as well. So it was wonderful to welcome Barry. Here's a close-up, by the way, of the Tinian. This is the Tinian map, and you can also see how the Tinian map also links up. Gosh, I hope I get this right. I want to say with the Saipan map. It's either Saipan or Guam. It's one of those two, but basically you can see how they sort of come together spatially. As far as, I should know my geography better. I forgot. I'm just thinking top of my head, and I can't read that top map very well. But it's either Saipan or Guam up above Tinian. But the below up close, that's the Tinian map, which I'm going to talk about here in a moment. And you can see the box cover as well, which will be shipping shortly. So it's a one mapper, which we're really excited about. This is another project that was talked about that I met with Eric Farago. Eric's online at Facebook right now. Welcome, Eric. So with Eric, we talked about the Third World War series game project, and that's going to take a little bit longer. We actually just switched game artists for that project. So just in terms of timing, to make sure we move forward on the project, we were experiencing some delays. So we're switching to a new artist for the maps, etc. So I'll have a big update on that in the near future, but things are going fine with the Third World War series. We just want to make a quick lineup change, and that's been taken care of already. But what you see here is actually going to be a sequel title to the Third World War series, and Eric was demonstrating to me here the game maps for Manchurian Front. So Manchurian Front is based on the Third World War series system, and that's something we're going to be doing as a separate title. After Third World War series is released, we're going to do Manchurian Front. So that's a picture of Eric Farago, great guy. It was a pleasure to talk to Eric at the event. And that's the Manchurian Front game map that he's showing there. Here we have some great folks, Jamie Cribb. He was doing a playthrough of a recent release that we have from Steven Newberg. It was Lebensraum. So Lebensraum was originally released by Simulations Canada, and we came out with a nice, larger two-mapper version of the. Actually, it's 3 maps. There's 3 map sections. So this is using a portion. This is not the entire game map. This is focusing on Eastern Front only. So they did the Eastern Front scenario for Lebensraum, and they were having a lot of fun with it. And we had some good discussions about the game, and we might have an article coming up in the near future about some ideas for some additions and bonus materials for the game, which I think people will enjoy. But here you can see what we have pictured as the Lebensraum game. South China Sea has been a really popular release from Compass Games, and this is a quick shot of South China Sea being played during the event. This shot's a little harder to see, but we had a big game, multiplayer game of Blitz World War II going on. Very popular game. We had a 5-6 player game going on. Actually had quite a few people that were watching as well. And was really looked like they were having a lot of fun playing Blitz late into the evening one night. Sorry, that's not the best quality shot, but I wanted to make sure I got all the participants in there so you could see them. Gregory Smith was one of our designers, and he was very busy because he's got multiple games that he was supporting. Here he's walking through one of the play testers for our upcoming release, Zeppelin Raider. So naval airships from World War I, German naval airships, World War I, and that game's going to be released in the first quarter of 2019. So he's walking through one of our play testers here, as you can see, through Zeppelin Raider. We also had some of our Euro games being played, so that's why you'll see some ladies and some of our gentlemen having some fun. So here we've got a game of Cargo Express. That's one of our first 2 Euro games we're releasing. Again, Oli Blenneman out of Germany is helping us with our Euro games line. That's not something I'm directly involved in. But yeah, they look like they're 2 really popular games. So this was Cargo Express being played during the event. And also we had our upcoming Colonialism Expanded 2nd edition release, which was already on Kickstarter. That was being played here as well. And what I didn't mention about Cargo Express, I should have, is that Cargo Express, which I showed you here, that's going to be hitting Kickstarter fairly soon. That's how we release or announce our Euro game. So that's going to be hitting our Kickstarter fairly soon, whereas Colonialism Expanded 2nd edition, that one's already gone through Kickstarter, and it's available for pre-order today as well. So there are some Euro games that were going on. And of course, we had a lot of games going on by other publishers. So one thing just to make clear for everybody for planning for next year is we support any games from any publisher. So we had, for example, Milt Janowski was play testing his Jaws of Victory Corsan game, which New England Simulations will be publishing next year, I believe. And we had, of course, several GMT titles, Operational Studies Group titles, so on and so forth. So it is open, true to its word, it's open gaming with Compass Games supporting the event, obviously. Here we have Greg with 2 tournament players. We had a tournament for Night Fighter Ace. I'll talk a little bit more about Night Fighter Ace in a moment. So this is a picture of 2 players joining Greg in Night Fighter Ace. And here we have a Prelude to Rebellion. So this is an interesting title. I don't know if we've really talked about Prelude to Rebellion much. It was released about less than a year ago. It was also kickstarted by us. And we had some wonderful gentlemen from Canada were playing the game. And we were here. It's pictured with Bill Thomas, Ken Dingley, and Billy Thomas. They're all standing up from left to right. It's Bill Thomas, then it's Ken Dingley in the blue sweater, and then Billy Thomas in the red Kansas City Chiefs jersey sweater. Having a good time talking to them about Prelude to Rebellion. So also very, again, a popular design that we hope to see played more and more in the future. So nice shot of them there. Of course, we have to have a flea market any event we do. So we did have a flea market. We had some great prices on some of the games as well. You'll probably recognize some of these titles that we had. So yeah, we had about 3 tables, about 18 feet of tables, total length space. That was completely filled up. So we had about 18 feet of table space used up as flea market tables throughout the event. And here is Adam now getting into Tinian. So this is the next game we're releasing. and now Adam's taking several players. They just finished Korea earlier during the event, and here he's playing Tinian, which will be released in a few weeks, next week. Then back to Gregory Smith on the left, pictured on the left, we've got Pacific Tide. Pacific Tide is a 2-player game that also features a solitaire bot system. So as a bonus, it can be played solitaire, but it's really designed as a 2-player game at its heart and soul. So here's a 2-player game with Greg playing Pacific Tide, using the final components for the game, I might add. Everything except for the rules booklet was available for this playthrough. So looking forward to releasing Pacific Tide shortly. So let me, before I go to this slide, I want to go back and also talk about, we were very thrilled as Compass Games on behalf of the ownership. We were very thrilled that we could offer 50% off all our merchandise, all the Paper War magazines with the games, all the box games. There was only one small exception, and that is pictured here. You see War for the Union. So War for the Union was our most recent release. So we actually kept that game at the pre-order price, which is still a very good deal, 25 to 30% off. But absolutely every other game at Compass Games Expo that we had, which you see pictured here, some of them anyway, they were all at 50% off. So we had, I think it was a win-win for everybody. Everybody got a chance to get, it's almost like getting 2 games for the price of 1, if you think about it. So everybody was really pleased. A lot of people picked up, 4 to 6 games each, really, or maybe some just picked up 1 or 2 because they had everything already. So we were just really happy that we could provide, some a nice discount. Really, that was meant to thank everybody for supporting our first event. And since it was a very successful turnout, having 120 people, we will be in the main ballroom next year. So if you remember the ceilings that I showed earlier, the lower ceilings with the sort of the ugly lighting. So this is a small portion of the ballroom. It's about 4,500 square feet. It's a true rectangle in shape, meaning I can fit a whole lot more tables as well than compared to this year. So we've basically, thanks to you, we're graduating to the main ballroom. So there's going to be some venue enhancements coming along with that. We'll have a separate room for the dealers, for the exhibitor sales area. So Compass will be in a separate room that can be under lock and key overnight, so we don't have to shuffle stuff back and forth. So we'll have a separate breakout room just of our merchandise. And then we'll also introduce a separate room for some seminars in the evening. So you notice we had about at least five or six designers were in attendance at the event. And we want to do maybe 30-minute designer seminars next year in the evening. Again, not meant to disrupt your gameplay during the day, but to have some designers maybe start sessions around after dinner time, 7:30, 8 o'clock, do maybe 2 to 3 sessions at a half-hour clip each. I think that would be a nice compliment. It's what we do for Consum World Expo, although they typically run longer. They run for an hour at a time rather than a half hour typically, but we're going to keep them shorter to half-hour time segments. So again, thanks to you, we'll be able to move on and move upward and onward. So I haven't had a chance to talk to the hotel yet. We're going to wait about a week or two. We're actually going to be looking to do a long-term multi-year commitment. So just to let you know, I do Consum World Expo every year in Tempe, Arizona, around late June. So we have late June coming up in 2019. It's always going to be there, but we plan to have Compass Games Expo. Our goal, knock on wood, our goal is that we'll have Compass Games Expo every Veterans Day weekend moving forward. Now we have something on the East Coast. Again, with 120 people already, if they can spread the word of mouth and had a positive feedback for us, we hope to have 150, 175 next year. We'll be able to start filling up the ballroom and offer a greater venue. So we're very excited, and I just want to thank you again for supporting us at the event. It was very helpful. I want to talk about the best sellers that we had at the event. So the best sellers at the Compass Games Expo, there were 3 games that stood out. Our number one seller, and this was largely due to Gregory Smith being in attendance, I believe that because he also held a tournament. So our number one seller was Night Fighter Ace. So Night Fighter Ace was the number one seller during Compass Games Expo at half off. Our number 2 bestseller, which you see pictured here by all the copies, was Europe in Turmoil. So being a World War I title, it seems to have scratched a good itch for gamers to have something on World War I to study, the outbreak of the Great War and all the historical events leading to that and the political situation prior. So Europe in Turmoil was just barely edged out by Night Fighter Ace. And what came in third, so win, place, and show, we had the War for the Union, Designer's Edition placed third. And again, that was a brand new release. It wasn't 50% off. It was at the standard pre-order price. That was the only game at the pre-order price, but the components were absolutely gorgeous, so people gobbled it up. So when I say first, second, third, it wasn't a matter of maybe just selling 3 or 4 copies of these games. As you can see here, we went through pretty much the stack of games during the event, and we had restocking. We did restocking as well of our games. So it was really wonderful to see people excited about the opportunity to pick up games at a great price. So that's a little bit about, again, about Compass Games Expo, and we look forward to next year. What I'd like to do now is talk about our update to our schedule. Since it's been over a month, we last spoke on October 12th. I want to talk about some of the changes that have happened. So first of all, we actually have had several releases since we last talked. We've had 3 releases. We've had Europe in Turmoil. If you look at the bottom here, recent releases, bottom left, Europe in Turmoil, which I just mentioned, Paper Wars issue 90, and the War for the Union. All 3 of these game titles have since been released since we last met for a live broadcast. So we've been very, very busy for sure. So I'd like to do at this moment is I'd like to show you some of these games. So I'm going to go ahead and let me see if I can switch over here. And we can get started to look at some of these new releases that we've had. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with, the first game that we released when we last met, which was, again, a top seller at Compass Games Expo, as our second best seller, actually, at the event. And that is Europe in Turmoil. So Europe in Turmoil, again, it's a prelude to the Great War. So it's of quite a bit of interest to people. And the game design is by Chris Van Beurden, who I believe is online on Facebook Live chatting with us right now. So I need to find a time that I can get Chris online to talk about Europe in Turmoil, because again, it was just a top seller. So just want to show you a brief. I'm not going to spend too much time. This is not an official unboxing video by any stretch of the imagination. But here you can see some the map, the play cards. There's a lot of it's a card-driven system on World War I, and I'll go ahead and I'll see if I can actually attempt. I will attempt to open it up, see if I can do a half-decent job. So we have here mobilization cards. Again, I'm not going to open them up. They're all packaged up already. So there's a bunch of cards in here. It looks like 40 or so cards around mobilization. Then we have we have a ton of strategy cards. So you can see from the thickness of this deck, we have just a bunch of strategy cards with the game. And then we have an additional packet of strategy cards here as well. So again, I'm not going to be doing a tutorial on the game here. Just want to give you an idea of what the game looks like. So we've got some tokens and some dice packaged up and ziplocked. And then, of course, the wonderful rules. Look at this. It's fully formatted. You start off with the map right away. Has some nice illustrations, table of contents. Very rich in terms of the overall presentation of the rules. And there's not many pages of rules here to go through. And you can tell what's nice here is it's a single column with very large type. So really, I think that's one of the reasons why this game is quite popular, and it's really heating up right now on social media. We've had a ton of postings about this game. So this is sort of the hot game for Compass right now. Is Prelude, is Europe in Turmoil. So, and again, we're sort of done already. So we're already at designer notes on page 14. So you can see here, the rest is just notes about the game cards. So obviously we're covering the history of the prelude to the Great War. So you're getting a breakdown of most of the cards that are in the game on about 10 to 12 pages. And then we end with a nice example of play. So this game is selling very well. I think it's a combination. I've heard it's because of the topic for sure. Prelude to the Great War. It's not your typical World War II game. Of course, card-driven games are quite popular already. And yes, there's some people that have played Twilight Struggle like to mention, oh, this seems similar in style to Twilight Struggle in terms of what it's trying to accomplish. So we've got a naval arms race track here. We've got some just some player aids, some general player aids here. A marker, a very nice marker legend for the markers. Again, very well thought out. I'm not going to open up the game map here, but there is a single game map that you get as well. And then we have, I believe, 2 sheets of counters. So we have, see, that's the fronts of the counters, and then in the backs, and then another sheet of counters here. So again, very nice package. I think the rule booklet does a fantastic job from what people are saying. Nobody's getting stuck by the rules or having a lot of rules questions. So definitely a hat tip to Chris Van Beurden for a wonderful job with Europe in Turmoil. So again, I hope you will be checking out this game. We've been selling a bunch. You'll see a lot of postings on social media about it as well. So that's Europe in Turmoil. So that's one of our first releases. So the next release after that, since we last spoke, was Paper Wars Magazine. So of course it comes with a game. And this was a reissue, and I believe Jack Green might be joining us tonight. So Jack, if you're here, I want to say thank you for letting us reissue a new edition of MacArthur Road to Bataan. I love the topic, World War II, America, Japanese. Really a dramatic situation. It can be played solitaire. Jack added solitaire rules. You can play as the Japanese player, I believe, in this situation. And so those are new rules that have been added to this game. So again, really nice job. We've got 5/8 inch counters here. Just to let everybody know, these are 5/8 inch counters. Very nice to see. We've got also some bonus counters along the bottom for other games we've published. Excuse my cough. And here's another full counter sheet as well. So again, full counter sheet, 5/8 inch. I can sort of zoom in here. Give you an idea. We can look at the back side. Not too much in terms of double printing in this case, but that's okay because the game design didn't need it. So that gives you an idea of Bataan. So that's, again, that is Jack Green's game. I'm not going to open up the map too big here, but it's a full-size map as well where the counters fit very comfortably. So I'm going to move this out of the way. So we got one and a half counter sheets for magazine game, not too shabby. And again, just looking through the publication here, we have an editorial by our editor, Adam Starkweather. Nice timing from Chris, the designer. Right away, we've got an article to support Europe in Turmoil. Wonderful to see that. And here it's talking about some of the cards. Again, Lebensraum, which was recently released and played at the Expo. John Gorkowski's done an article. He's designed, for example, some World War I games for us, Red Poppy's campaigns. Joel Toppin's Midway article appears. Now this is not just an article by Vance von Voorhis, this is also a new scenario for Forgotten Legions. So here we have a new scenario for Forgotten Legions, which is 2 games in one. It's Bloody Karen and Drive on Damascus. And then we have the rules booklet for MacArthur. So here we have one display, and then you have the actual rules that I'm just going to flip through to the end for MacArthur. So again, pretty straightforward. Another, some more displays for the game player aids. We have a nice little poem by Gregory Smith, our designer, who actually won an award. He got first place winner for a short poem that he wrote back in 1991 during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And then we have a 2-map scenario for Guam, available from Ross Mortel and Adam Starkweather. So here we have a new scenario as well. And then behind the lines, I hope you find that of interest. This is where all those that are working at Compass provide sort of a project snapshot of what games projects we're working on. So it's Bill Thomas, the owner, Ken Dingley, Adam Starkweather, yours truly, John Kranz, Billy Thomas, and Oli Blenneman, as well as our website support, Brian McNamara. And we talk about various game projects and where they're sitting at time of this article when it was written. So that pretty much, and then we got some additional articles at the very end. And then, of course, the wonderful Compass Games Expo event we just we held earlier this week with some ads on the back. So that, in short, is a quick tour of Paper Wars issue 90. So I hope you get a chance to pick it up. Again, it's a great game from Jack Green. And I really hope you're gonna pick up that game. And last but not least, this is the one everybody, again, I would have to say we are getting just all kinds of attention on Europe in Turmoil. But this one literally took people's breath away when we introduced it this week at Compass Games Expo. This is the new edition, Designer's Edition of War for the Union by Rob Bema. The graphics, just people were pretty much blown away by the graphics for the game. So this is the back of the box with some explanation. It's a 2-map game, so it's really a nice sweet spot between the big monster game coming from Donald Johnson and maybe a smaller 1-map game. So this is a 2-mapper, War for the Union, that I'm going to go ahead and open up. So I'll get rid of the red. We got the red and the black dice in the game. We've got some cards. We've got some cards in the game that are used as well that you can see here. Looks like about a 30 count of cards, maybe less. The rules booklet, I want to thank Ken Dingley of Compass. So Ken Dingley, he is a mastermind. He is our wizard when it comes to laying out rules. If you look at the quality of these rules, you're always going to be in for a treat when Ken Dingley's involved, because he does just a great job with the overall format of the game. This reminds me of Europe in Turmoil. The rules formatting is just superb here. And again, we have some examples that are built into the game here, as you can see. So what you're going to find here is a really finely developed game. So we've got all the errata from the original edition from Clash of Arms. So hat tip to Clash of Arms for supporting Rob Bema's first release of this game. But obviously it's an opportunity for us to add a lot of clarifications, add additional rules. Rob Bema's made some changes to the design, which he's talked about. He's actually talked about it as recent as today on the Consum World Forum. So again, just really, this is going to be for those American Civil War enthusiasts that want to go a little bit deeper in terms of rules. So this is not your 12 pages of rules. You're going to have about 36 written pages of rules, and the rest will be taken up with examples of play and illustrations. But again, pretty involved, pretty good lengthy rules, but very easy, to grasp and to follow. There's 2 full maps in the game, and you can see there's a bunch of scenarios here, as you can see. So here we have the scenario booklet that goes through all the different scenarios in the game with the setups. So again, very straightforward. Some people have just received their game now, and they're already starting to set up some of the smaller scenarios. So I know the game's starting to be played. So there's your scenario booklet. We have now some player aid cards, which I'm pulling out here. Combat results, we're talking about charts and tables, terrain key. Looks like we have 2 of those identical sheets as well, I believe. Or those, yes, we do have 2 identical. Here's the other one. Here's the other set. So 2 identical sets of cards. And then we have the Confederate and Union reinforcement tracks are included here. So Union and Confederate provided there. Counters came out great. So everybody loves the counter. The rule booklet, obviously the rule booklet looks great, but people were salivating over the counter sheets. So just gorgeous looking counters. I want to call these, I want to say these are 9/16 inch counters. So they're definitely not half-inch. They're bigger than half-inch counters. That's one sheet there. Then we have the unions. We have a lot of counter sheets, guys. So just really nice looking. This is similar in style to the original Clash of Arms release. So here's the back side as well. I'll zoom in just so you can see a nice zoom in of that. Get the idea. I think that focuses. Hopefully that focused okay. But again, then we got the leaders and we got the naval ships. This is a fun counter sheet right here to give you an idea of some of the flavor in the game. So we have the markers, naval units, leaders. This one has quite a bit going on in it on this counter sheet here. But again, the graphics, the map graphics with these counters, and we got some markers. The counters fit comfortably. We've got two full maps here. And again, people are just saying kudos to the quality of the map that we have as far as the look of it. People just say great job overall with the graphics. So that is we've I think we're sort of on a roll right now because we're hearing great things. First, we had Night Fighter Ace as a top seller at Expo, which Gregory was supporting. We have Europe in Turmoil is going nuts right now, literally. And then War for the Union, this package, just the way it came together. Again, people are just really excited about War for the Union. Just a great job overall. So that's enough on that. So let me switch here and go back. Let's go back to our screen. So I want to talk now about changes to, well, I'm back now. Probably I was probably a little off to the side there because I had the camera off to the side to actually look at the components. I hope that worked okay. I hope you were able to see the components okay on the screen. It's the first time I've actually done that. So, and just a reminder, if you're on Facebook, want to post any questions or comments, please feel free to do that. And those on the broadcast, you've got the Q&A button or the chat button. You can click on that as well if you have any questions or comments for me. But again, I hope that gave you a good idea of those 3 shipping products we have now, which I just want to talk about briefly here. So we just went through War for the Union, Paper Wars, and Europe in Turmoil. I want to focus in on the top left area now. So we've got Tinian, The Forgotten Battle will be our last game release for this year. So we're going to have sort of a nice winter holiday pause for the end of the year. Things have been pretty hectic this year, I'd have to admit. I'm trying to keep up myself. So we're going to finish up with Tinian. And as far as Tinian goes, I do have some things I can show you really quickly on Tinian that I would like to share. So let me see if I can find that. Yep. So here's an example on Tinian. So this is the game map. This is the game map for Tinian. So it's a single map. So it's a company scale system. So it's quite manageable. And I'm just going to scroll through it here briefly. It's that one map I showed you from the pics at Campus Games Expo. So it's really a nice size. It's also I think this is the third set of, it's the third time we've done the rules for a company scale system, at least for Pacific Front. Obviously, we've also done Montelimar. But again, for this theater, this is our third crack at the rules. So really a solid set of rules. And the map, I think the map just came out great here as far as what we have for the map. So I just want to share that with you. Some of the game counters, I can actually share with you now what some of the game counter sheets look like. I don't have the shipping version yet. So here's the counter sheet number 3, front for Tinian. So we can see some of the Japanese markers, and we got Amtraks on the right side for the US player and naval ships, and then the land infamous mines from the Japanese player. So we can see some of that on sheet 3. So again, I think really nice quality sheet of markers that we have here. So let me go ahead and just close that down. And here's another one. Here's another sheet. I'll show you one more sheet of Tinian. So again, the graphics, just superb. I believe it's Antonio who did these graphics, and really excited. They love playing Tinian, with the production quality shipping components at the Expo event. So again, just top quality components across the board. Nice size counters by Antonio Pinar. Again, just another great job. Tinian pre-orders are looking solid as a rock, just doing great. And we're excited to get this game out on November 30th, which is not long from now. So after Thanksgiving, we'll start shipping Tinian. So we're really excited about Tinian as our next and final game release for 2018. And then it's going to be rock and roll time for 2019. So going back to our schedule, just briefly for a moment, I want to talk about changes to our schedule. So we have Tinian coming up on November 30th, and then Pacific Tide, we decided, just with everything going on with end of the year, we pushed that into January. So we're gonna start 2019. Our New Year's resolution is to come out of the chute quite hot with a bunch of releases in January. So we'll have Pacific Tide from Gregory Smith. That's something I showed you from the Expo pics earlier. A great 2-player game. I hope you'll check it out. Got some rave feedback from the game. I think there were 3 or 4 playthroughs at least at the Expo we just held, and players loved it. Great 2-player game with a solitaire bot assistant. Then we've got, following Pacific Tide, we've got Paper Wars issue 91, Jihad, which I'll talk about in our next broadcast as we get closer to that release in January. We'll talk about Jihad. And then another title from Gregory Smith. I guess we're going to have 2 titles from Greg in January. So it's a Gregory Smith a new year for us at Compass. And that's going to be Zeppelin Raider Imperial German Naval Airships. So again, all the components are coming together. We're getting the box packaging is going to be completed next week. And then yours truly is going to be working on the rules booklet layout. So guess what I'm going to be doing during the holidays? I get to do just much like I did the Night Fighter Ace rules layout. I get to do the Zeppelin Raider rules layout. And I got pressure on me because Ken Dingley's like, he's our rule booklet god that I bow before. So I'm going to try to do a half decent job with the Zeppelin Raider rules. Then we're going to spring into month of February. We're going to spring into some other projects that I'm also overseeing. And that is Fortress Europa, the new designer signature edition, which Randy Heller is the developer on. He's doing a great job. Randy was actually the official answer man for Avalon Hill for all these years for the Avalon Hill edition. So Randy knows the game inside out, in the middle of his sleep. He could be in a coma. He can still answer rules questions when he's in a coma. So we've updated the game, made some important rules clarifications and some adjustments, and Randy is just the right guy to do that for Fortress Europa. So thumbs up to Randy Heller on that one. And next we have, and this one's been doing very well on pre-order, so you guys must have a lot of love for Frank Chadwick and the topic itself, Barlev, Arab-Israeli War. So again, this is more of a newer game, although it has its roots in Frank Chadwick's Barlev by GDW. This is really, as you probably heard from Chris Fawcett's designer interview we did recently, this really is somewhat of a new design as well. And people are just taking to it really quickly for good reason. It's going to be a great game. And we're really excited to have this out in February. The 2 game maps are basically both done. Golan and Suez maps are done. And we've got like 6-7 counter sheets now we've got to do. We're at the unit level is now more at the brigade level, or battalion. So we have more details, a lot more counters in the game, a lot more historical detail in this game, in this edition. So we're going to have 6-7 counter sheets when you add up all the markers, game markers. So really excited about our lineup for January and February. I hope you like what you see. If you have any questions about our lineup, please let me know. But that does cover our lineup coming out starting November 30th, our last release, through the first 2 months of the new year. So I hope you see something here that you'll like. And otherwise, I also hope you might consider picking up, and you might pick up Europe in Turmoil, which I showed, or War for the Union, Night Fighter Ace. All doing very well for us right now. And I do want to mention really quickly, I think we're down to less than 5 copies of the African campaign, which was my first project here at Compass. We had about 25 copies before Compass Games Expo. And given that it was half price sale, you can imagine the price was pretty darn low. So we sold around 15, 20 of them. So we have about 5 copies left of the African campaign. So if you're interested in that classic John Edwards game back from the early 70s, we've got about 4 or 5 copies of that game left for you to buy if you're interested in that. So that's a little bit about that. I want to do a little bit more of show and tell with you tonight real quickly here. And that's going to be around some other units that I want to show you. So let me go back and see if I can find that for you. So I'm going to go back and I want to make sure I'm in the right place. So actually, I'm going to close this window out for a moment. And I want to show you a sneak peek, if I can, of, it's not there. Hold on. I'm going to have to go to a folder here because I'm actually hiding it from you all. So bear with me 1 second while I go in here, and I'm going to pull up a directory here. There it is. I want to show you a little bit about Vietnam, Rumors of War, because Adam has been working on it. So just want to pull that up quickly. So here we have sample counters. These are actual counters for Vietnam, the rumored war game that Adam Starkweather has been working on that a lot of people have been asking about. So I want to take this moment to show you some of the graphics for the game. So here we have an example of one of the counter sheets. Again, this is operational scale system for Vietnam. This is the miners that are represented in the game. I'm going to go through some other units here as well. So here we have, some of the U.S., as you can see, We have some of the U.S. counters to give you an idea of those markers as well. I like how the aircraft top-down silhouettes are coming together for the game. You can see we're working on some leader counters. I got the airfield markers down on the bottom. So again, just working right now on Vietnam, and I want to thank Adam Starkweather, who is kind enough to forward to me some of these counter images. I think this one's a quite nice image right here, actually, that I'm going to zoom in on to give you a better idea. So let's zoom in on the U.S. Again, we have some really nice organizational seals on these counters appearing here, as you can see on the left. So really nice job, again, on the counter sheets. And you can see here we have the U.S. side. There's the famous 101st Airborne Division right there. So again, adding a lot of color to the game with these division insignias being added to Vietnam. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of what we're working on. I believe I've got one more for you here. So I'll end up with this one right here. So here we have for Vietnam, as again, some more counters for the North, obviously for the North this time for the VC, Viet Cong. So here we have some of those air units as well that I'm showing here on the left side, and some of the leaders, fortifications, penal units, etc. Some really interesting markers actually in the game being prepared. So again, this is going to the operational scale system. We're working very busy on it, and we look forward to having this next year for you all. So I hope that's something you're going to be excited about coming from Compass Games. So that's a little bit of a sneak peek of Vietnam. What I'd like to do next is go back to our website to talk about some things we've added. So the first thing I want to mention is, let's go here. I'm going to go actually to looking at my notes. I want to go to Korea. So let's go to Korea just for a moment. So I'm going to type that out. See if I can get there quickly. So the Korean War. Oh, sorry, that's the Korean War. That's my title that I'm working on with Joe Bukowski. Let me do this differently. So let's go back to available games, and let's sort by name, and we'll look at all. I want to show you something that was added today that might be of interest to you. So let's scroll through our current shipping products. Excuse me while I scroll through. So Korea Fire and Ice. I do want to mention Korea Fire and Ice tonight because there was some question recently about how are we doing with the living rules set for Korea Fire and Ice. We're getting very close. So we have the living rules in a Word draft format. So those that would like to play Korea right now, Fire and Ice, we don't have them laid out, with the professional rules booklet layout yet, but this is the draft. This is the Word document draft that was used by Adam Starkweather and crew to update to the living rules for Korea Fire and Ice. So if you're playing the game now, I encourage you to go to the Korea Fire and Ice product page, click on Rules, Errata, and Downloads, and the first option will be the 2.0 rules PDF. And again, this is the rules draft only. We'll have a nice professional layout of the rules. As soon as that becomes available, we'll be sure to post it for you. Okay, just want to make you aware of that. So that has since been posted. Now I want to make two new project announcements. You may have heard these already. The first is we recently signed with Michael Resch. Michael Resch is the designer. You might know Michael Resch from his 1940 Twilight in the East monster game, published by another publisher, GMT Games. So he's done a lot of World War I work. So we've gotten permission. We're under an agreement with Michael Resch to bring his Battle for Galicia 1914 World War I game to Paper Wars magazine. So in a future issue of Paper Wars magazine, we will be presenting Battle for Galicia 1914. Michael did like a desktop published version only of this game many years ago, as noted here on Board Game Geek in 2006. But this will be professionally published with 5/8" counters, single map, updated rules, etc. So really looking forward to working with Michael Resch. It's our first opportunity to work with Michael, so we're really eager to be working with him, and hopefully I'll have him on in a future episode where we can talk a little bit about his design. By the way, this is not nearly as complex of an involved system as 1914 Twilight in the East. It's got a much more, it's got a simpler combat system, for example, than 1914, which is really more, that game's more of a true monster game. So it has a lot more detail to it. Whereas Battle for Galicia is more, more of a playable game, 8 to 10 pages of rules, more or less, is what it probably comes down to. And another exciting project that I want to talk about is something that Gregory Smith, he's our little evil genius in-house, and he's doing all kinds of stuff for us. So he was at Expo, did a great job. That's why Night Fighter Ace was the #1 seller at Compass Games Expo. So he's done Night Fighter Ace. Ian Cooper did a great job with Raiders of the Deep for the World War I U-boat game. That's based on Greg's Hunter's game system. Of course, Greg's got several titles coming out from us now. So we've got Zeppelin Raider, German naval airships, World War of the Great War. That's going to be coming out early next year in Q1. We've also announced Interceptor Ace, which is basically the daytime companion to Night Fighter Ace. So we've got Interceptor Ace. That's actually in the art department now. So if you like Night Fighter Ace, you're going to get to do it daylight, and that's going to be Interceptor Ace. But what we have here is something different. This is called Evil Queen of the Skies. Think of it as the old Avalon Hill. If you think about the B-17 Queen of the Skies from Avalon Hill, he's getting really evil and crazy on us now. So he's doing an alternate history. What if Germany was bombing America post-World War II? Germany, of the obvious hypothesis, Germany has won World War II in Europe, and now they've extended to bombing the skies over America. What's interesting about this, Greg's done actually some serious research about North America and bombing sites, which was studied during the war. So he's got some historical information around factories, what would get targeted, what they consisted of. So this is not really all tongue-in-cheek at all. It's got actual historical information in it that was found in research. And I got a kick out of one of the artwork. Somebody did artwork for this game and again, on Facebook, look at all these postings on Facebook. People went nuts for it. They're play testing it right now. So somebody did, Steve Oliver did America Bomber Evil Queen of the Sky, sort of a takeoff on the cover art from Avalon Hill's B-17 Queen of the Sky. So here we have somebody having fun with the game cover for what we might do for America Bomber. So again, it's sort of blown up all over one of our social media channels. So people on Facebook have sort of adopted this game from Greg. Greg's provided them the print and play components, and something about this topic is just really grabbing people, and they're really liking it. So yeah, we're going to be publishing this game, Evil Queen of the Skies. Will be getting published sometime soon next year. I want to also welcome Michelle Amat, who joined us from Canada, Montreal. Michelle, thank you for joining Compass Games Expo. I look forward to getting you involved as we discussed about some play tests for Compass Games. Thanks for offering you and your friends to offer play testing for Compass Games. And I look forward to making Stack Academy in May next year to attend the Montreal event. And I don't know if you noticed, I showed pictures of you playing Prelude to Rebellion from Expo, which will be on the tape broadcast, which I'll distribute. And Mark Sockwell just commented that he's been playing this Evil Queen of the Skies by Gregory Smith, this crazy idea Greg came up with on his own, and or maybe his evil twin brother, I don't know who. But Mark says he's been playing this print and play version, and he's giving it a thumbs up. It's really fun and plays quickly. So thanks, Mark, for commenting about Evil Queen of the Skies. I'm glad some people also commented favorably about Korea, the living rules for Fire and Ice. And obviously they're not the final formatted living rules, but you have the rules draft, which will help you if you're playing the game right now. So we're very happy that we could provide that to you today. And thanks to Adam Starkweather and his team for doing that. Now, I would like to put in a request. If I can ask you all a huge favor. Let me show you what it is, just for a moment. I need to ask you a favor, so I need to navigate just for a moment. I'm going to navigate to our Facebook page, and please bear with me here. I want to show you something that would be awesome if some of you are willing to do this. You're not forced to, but it's just something I learned recently that I want to share with you. So here I'm on the Compass Games Facebook page, and a lot of you on those of you on Facebook Live have probably already liked this page. And I just want to share with you something quickly. That just today, a few hours ago, let me see if I can actually make this bigger. Too big, sorry. I don't want to make it too big. So just today, and I hope we don't have anybody drop out, just today we hit a new milestone. We have 2,500 likes. You like me, or you like Compass. Yeah, that's Sally Fields. Sorry, that's a Sally Fields joke from Oscars. But anyway, we're really excited to have 25 people following us on our Facebook page. So we're really happy to have that number. I think when I first joined Compass, we had around 700 or 800 on the page for page likes. So it's great to see 2,500. But now, if I can ask this one tiny favor of you, those that are on Facebook, if you scroll down on Facebook, right under this information, there's the community box. There's a community box. And if you could do this, this would be like, I'd be so excited. This would be so awesome. If you click on invite friends, something magical happens. If you click on that, it automatically maps and shows you all your friends. This is everybody you have as a friend on Facebook. So you can scroll through the list and you can select them. And you can actually see, like Kev Sharp, a big board, is already liking the page. But what you can do is you can go here and you can start selecting all your friends that don't like our page yet. You can then say, hey, just putting in a good word for I can't type this slow. It's like a lag time here. I can't type. But basically, you can type like a one-sentence message that will go to everybody you check off on your friends invite list. And when you do that, just hit the invite button at the very bottom of the page. You can send the invites, and you can see how many invites it can go to. And some of you literally, you're unlike me. You're probably popular, and you probably have like a few hundred friends that are in the hobby. And I bet you like 80 or 90% of these people aren't liking our page yet. They don't know it exists or haven't bothered. But it would be so awesome if you guys could just hit on the community. If you guys could just do that, hit the community page that I showed you here and hit invite friends, and then just go through all your friends that are gamers and just type, I'd say maybe just type a one-sentence message so it doesn't look so much like a blatant form reply or something, like a personal message that everybody will receive. That would be so awesome if you guys could, on Facebook, for those that have accounts, if you guys could do that for me tonight and invite people. I'd like to see how much higher than 2,500 we can go over tomorrow and the weekend, basically. So that would be great. That would be great if you guys could do that for me. we would appreciate it. Compass Games, we would appreciate it very, very much. So again, just to sort of cover everything we've had. So I will have this broadcast recorded and posted to online on Facebook on the Compass Game homepage. I'll have it posted tomorrow morning, the edited version, of course, and HD. And I just want to thank you. It's been over a month since I last talked to you, and of course I miss having the chance to update you on things. For those that couldn't make Compass Games Expo, I hope we can make it next year. I'll make formal announcements when we lock down the date. We're, again, hoping for Veterans Day. Those that joined us for the event, I want to thank you so much for giving us the numbers we had and supporting it, because that helped us sort of graduate to say this is a real event and to move to the ballroom to next year already, and we'll be expanding the venue. So thanks to everybody who made it. Again, we had those 3 new releases since we last talked. We had Europe in Turmoil, which is I think our top seller right now in terms of people ordering it. Paper Wars 90 from Jack Green, MacArthur, Road to Baton, and War for the Union, which everybody's talking about because they love the graphics. It's just a beautiful product, beautiful looking product, came out really well. So we also talked about Tinian, showed you some Tinian counter art and maps that will be released on November 30th, our last release for 2018. Then we talked about some project updates. So Adam Starkweather presented me with some counter artwork for Vietnam, which I was able to share with you tonight. We talked a little bit about Korea, Fire and Ice, the living rules being posted, thanks to Adam and crew and all those that helped Adam proof those rules and getting them updated. Then I announced again, Battle for Galicia is going to be appearing in a future issue of Paper Wars from Michael Resch, the designer, and Evil Queen of the Skies. I got to do like that. Evil Queen of the Skies from Gregory Smith, one of many dastardly and evil projects that Gregory Smith is doing for us. So we covered quite a bit, including the inviting other Facebook friends to like our page. So we've covered a lot tonight. I hope this was great information for you. I don't think we have any other questions. Let me scroll quickly here just to make sure I don't see any other questions. We're going to have a lot of project announcements and updates because right now, just speaking for myself, I have about 13 or 14 active projects right now that are in various stages of completion. So, for example, like the Bulge game from John Butterfield is being worked on. Ostkrieg, which is the next follow-up from Pacific Tide, using the Pacific Tide system. We have Ostkrieg. Have a new title from Vance Von Voorhees coming up. We're going to be starting soon. Decision at Kasserine. Obviously, Third World War series games going on already. We've got Barlev, bunch of titles, and a bunch of things you don't know about yet, perhaps, as well. So we'll have a lot of updates to do. We are not going to be doing a broadcast next week. I want you to enjoy, for those that are in North America, I want you to enjoy your Thanksgiving week and holiday. I hope you get some time off work. So we will not be doing a broadcast next week. But please join me. In about 2 weeks from today, we'll be doing our next broadcast. So again, I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank everybody again for making Compass Games Expo such a great success for us, and a pleasure to meet so many of you in person. And it was a great time. Absolutely. And look forward to talking to you in 2 weeks. Thanks a lot, everybody. You all have a good night. Bye-bye.